They called it a victory garden. And if you don't know what that means, you're about to understand why millions of Americans are bringing it back, right now, in their backyards, on their balconies, in old buckets and cracked pots sitting next to apartment doors. This isn't a trend. This isn't an aesthetic. This is something older, something deeper, and by the end of this video, you're going to feel it in your chest. Stay with me. It was 1943. A woman named Ruth was kneeling in her backyard in rural Ohio, pushing bean seeds into cold spring soil with her bare fingers. Her husband was somewhere in the Pacific. She didn't know where. She hadn't heard from him in 6 weeks. But every morning, she got up before the sun, walked to the back of the house, and put her hands in the dirt. Not because anyone told her to. Not because it was easy. But because something about touching the earth made the fear a little quieter. Something about watching a seed become a plant, something alive, something she kept alive, told her that things were still going to be okay. She was not alone. In 1943, there were 20 million victory gardens growing across the United States. In backyards. In public parks. On rooftops. On fire escapes. Anywhere there was dirt and light. Those gardens produced 40% of all the vegetables eaten in America that year. 40%. Not from farms. From regular people. Grandmothers and teenagers and factory workers and school children, all growing food, all feeding their families and their neighbors, all doing one of the most powerful things a human being can do, refusing to be helpless. Now I want you to think about something. I want you to really sit with this question for a second. What is happening in the world right now that makes you want to put your hands in the soil? Because here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing people, thousands of people, maybe millions, going back to the garden. Not because a magazine told them it's fashionable. Not because a celebrity made it look pretty on Instagram. But because something quiet and ancient inside them is whispering, grow your own food. Don't depend on something you can't control. Remember what your hands were made for. Grocery bills that used to be manageable now feel like a punch every single week. Supply chains that we never thought about, that we assumed would just always work, turned out to be fragile. Frighteningly fragile. People watched empty shelves for the first time in their lives and felt something shift inside them. A kind of waking up. A realization that somewhere along the way, we outsourced something we should never have outsourced, the ability to feed ourselves. And so they're planting. A 42-year-old teacher in Tennessee is growing tomatoes in 5-gallon buckets on her back porch. A retired mechanic in Michigan planted his first vegetable bed last spring, corn, peppers, green beans, just like his grandfather used to grow in Alabama. A young mother in Texas is teaching her 7-year-old how to save seeds, because her own grandmother taught her, and she doesn't want that knowledge to die. These people are not survivalists. They're not doomsday preppers. They're just people who felt something, an instinct, a pull, a memory in the blood, and followed it. That's what this is really about. Memory in the blood. Because here's something the gardening books don't always tell you. The knowledge of how to grow food, how to read the soil, how to know when a plant is thirsty, how to companion plant so the bugs leave your crops alone, how to save a seed and keep a variety alive through winter, that knowledge lived in families for thousands of years. It was passed from grandmother to grandchild, from farmer to farmer, from generation to generation, like a living thread that connected people to the earth and to each other. And then, in less than 100 years, we cut that thread. We moved to cities. We bought everything in packages. We stopped growing, stopped preserving, stopped saving seeds. We told ourselves we didn't need to know how anymore. That someone else would handle it. That the system was stable. That we could trust the supply chain forever. And now a lot of people are looking at their hands that have never touched soil, and they're feeling something they can't quite name. A kind of hunger that has nothing to do with food. They're feeling the missing thread. And I really believe, that the reason so many people are going back to the garden right now is because some deep part of them recognizes that this is how you pick the thread back up. You put a seed in the ground. You water it. You watch it grow. And somewhere in that process, something reconnects. Something that had been broken for generations quietly heals. That's why it's not just about saving money on groceries, even though it absolutely does save money. That's why it's not just about eating fresher vegetables, even though the taste of a tomato you grew yourself versus one that was picked green in Mexico and shipped across 3 states is something that has to be experienced to be believed. It's about something harder to measure. A feeling of competence. Of groundedness. Of knowing that if things got harder, really hard, you wouldn't be helpless. Ruth in Ohio, kneeling in the cold soil in 1943 while she waited for news from the Pacific, understood something that we are just starting to remember. That the garden is not just a source of food. It is a source of sanity. Of hope. Of proof that life keeps going, that good things grow, that your effort and your care translate into something real and nourishing. Now here's where it gets practical. Because this video is not just about history and emotion, it's about what you can actually do, starting this week, with almost no money and whatever space you have. The original Victory Garden guidelines from the 1940s were designed for regular people with regular yards. But they work just as well today in containers on a balcony, in raised beds you build from scrap wood, in the strip of ground between your fence and your neighbor's fence. The principles are the same. You grow what your family eats most. You start with what's easiest: beans, lettuce, tomatoes, zucchini, herbs. You use kitchen scraps and coffee grounds and grass clippings instead of buying expensive fertilizer. You save seeds instead of buying new ones every year. You share surplus with neighbors. You keep it simple. You keep it alive. And here's the thing nobody talks about, the thing that will change everything once you understand it. A victory garden doesn't have to be big to matter. In fact, the most important thing it can do has nothing to do with square footage. The most important thing is this: every time you go outside and check on your plants, every time you water them, every time you pick something and bring it inside and put it on your table, you are practicing a kind of attention and care that our modern world has almost completely destroyed. You are slowing down. You are paying attention to something alive. You are participating in a cycle that is older than civilization. And that participation changes you. Quietly, slowly, undeniably. I've heard from people who started a small container garden on their apartment balcony, 6 pots, maybe 7, and say it changed their relationship to anxiety, to helplessness, to the news. Not because growing basil fixes inflation, but because tending something living, watching it respond to your care, gives you back a sense of agency that modern life relentlessly strips away. This is what Ruth knew in 1943. This is what the Appalachian grandmothers knew when they kept their kitchen gardens going through the Depression, trading seeds with neighbors and putting up jars of green beans last through February. This is what the native communities of the Southwest knew when they grew the 3 sisters, corn, beans, squash, together in the same mound, each one feeding and protecting the others, a system so elegant and so efficient that it fed millions of people for thousands of years without a single bag of synthetic fertilizer. They understood something we are just now relearning, that the earth is not a problem to be solved with technology. It is a relationship to be tended. And the moment you start trending it, really trending it, with your hands and your time and your attention, it starts giving back in ways that go far beyond calories. So here's what I want you to do. And I want you to do it today, not someday. Go find one container. A bucket, a pot, an old colander, a crate, anything that holds soil and has drainage. Fill it with the best dirt you can find or afford. And plant one thing. One seed, one transplant, one clipping from a friend's plant. Something you can eat. Put it somewhere it gets light. Water it. That's it. That's the whole beginning. Because this is how it starts. Not with a plan or a system or a YouTube channel to binge. It starts with one seed. One act of faith. One quiet refusal to be helpless. Ruth put her hands in the cold Ohio soil in 1943 and grew enough to feed her family through a summer while she waited for her husband to come home. He did come home. And she kept that garden every year for the rest of her life. Not because the war was still going, but because something changed in her when she grew food for the first time. Something she couldn't unlearn. Something she didn't want to. That same something is available to you. It's waiting in the soil. It has always been. If this hits something in you, if it reminds you of someone, of something your grandparents said, of a garden you remember from childhood or a fear you have right now about the future, tell me in the comments. Tell me what's bringing you back to the earth. I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, now's the time. Because what we're building here, together, is exactly this, the knowledge that was almost lost, given back to the people who need it. Old wisdom. Simple methods. Real food. No chemicals. No complicated systems. Just hands, soil, seeds, and the oldest skill in human history, kept alive, one garden at a time. Hit subscribe. Leave a like if this meant something to you. And I'll see you in the next one.